Hello, my name is John Healy, and I'm located in New Hampshire. I'm a licensed private investigator. Recently, I uploaded my first video to YouTube explaining to you what a private investigator really does for a living. In this video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. My wife and I have published our first book called Cold, Dark Water. It's a murder mystery that takes place in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and in the Isles of Shoals, which are about 5.5 miles offshore. It combines my love of investigating with our love of the ocean. For many years, we've had a cabin cruiser on the ocean. And I'm just going to read you a little excerpt from our book, which is called Cold, Dark Water. It's available at Amazon.com and several other places. The plot: an 1813 shipwreck and an 1873 double murder, both at the Isles of Shoals, become pivotal as drama plays out in historic Portsmouth, New Hampshire, its harbor, and the nearby Isles of Shoals. In this new suspense novel, Jack Dawson, a retired NCIS investigator, now a marine mechanic and caretaker for an island home, becomes personally interested in Portsmouth, New Hampshire police detective Sheila Michaels, as he is unwittingly drawn into the events. Behind the violence is the sociopathic personality of Tony Wagner. Driven by a combination of greed and revenge, he will stop at nothing to get what he believes is rightfully his and to right a century-old family wrong. From 2 attacks on Dawson's boat at his marina to the final confrontation in the cold, dark water of the Atlantic Ocean, the reader is transported into a world of beauty, adventure, and suspense. Tim Pethick never heard the bullet which ended his life. The setting sun burned a bright orange blaze across the surface of the ocean. The water appeared to be on fire, a finger of liquid fire pointing directly at his boat. The water was dark on either side of the sun's fiery reflection which bisected the breakwater at Little Harbor. He had pulled in the last of his lobster traps and set them on the deck of his boat. Weary from the day's work, he stood up and stretched his back. It was almost sundown. The day was done, the harvest good. He sat on the gunwale of his boat, squinting at the setting sun, and then looked eastward towards the islands, the Isles of Shoals. He took a long drink from a bottle of whiskey he kept on board, and he watched the nearby tugboat escorting a large freighter out of Portsmouth Harbor. He stood up and took another long drink from the bottle. He never thought it would be the last drink he'd ever enjoy. Lobsters were once thought to be a nuisance, used as food for prisoners and slaves. Today they are seen as a delicacy around the world. There is no better place for lobsters than right here along the Maine and New Hampshire seacoast. Lobstermen work hard. Studies have shown that only 10% of the lobsters that enter a trap get caught. The other 90%, well, they enjoy a free meal and move on. Smart. Being a lobsterman is a tough way to make a living. The hours are long. The work is physical, strenuous, and in many kinds of weather too. The men are tough, and many are friends of mine. My name is Jack Dawson. I live and work among them, enjoying the fruits of their labor, repair their boats, and occasionally imbibing with them. The sad reality, I used to take them for granted. That is until they started dying around me. I debated staying on the boat at my marina because of the bad weather. There was too much to do at my temporary home on the island to avoid the trip. I knew intuitively I shouldn't venture out on such a night. However, I also knew I wouldn't sleep well, knowing I was behind in my commitment to work on the house. I was trading my labor for a roof over my head. Commitments are important to me. There was enough light for me to navigate the channel, but just barely. I knew from the marine forecast I could expect fog as I left the breakwater at Little Harbor and entered into the open ocean. I turned on the bilge blower to make sure no gas fumes had built up in the bilges, and after a few minutes I started the engines. They came to life with ease. I was almost standing over them, but once the big GMCs were warmed up and were at idle speed, they were almost silent. I looked at my watch, using the red glow from my instrument panel to see it clearly. It was exactly low tide, which meant I needed to use caution. Using the thumb control on the throttle, I raised the outdrive a few degrees. This way the propeller wouldn't hit any sand or mud in the shallows of the dock area. But in doing so, I also sacrificed some of my maneuverability. I pulled out from the slip and into the channel where I lowered the outdrive. The depth finder showed me there was 5 feet of water under the boat. There was just enough light to see the shapes of the nuns and cans, the navigation markers that marked the channel. What I couldn't distinguish, though, was their red or green colors. I flicked on my GPS-based chart plotter, and the full-color screen told me exactly where I was in the channel. Being off-center in this channel, and low tide, could be disastrous. I turned on the radar, too, knowing I would soon need that. Once I got into the ocean, I needed to know what was around me. I headed up Sagamore Creek, paying close attention to the navigation markers and my chart plotter. At low tide, Sagamore Creek allowed for little error in navigation. Traversing the channel proved no problem tonight. I'd done it many times in similar conditions. A right-hand turn took me under the bridge connecting Portsmouth to the island city of Newcastle. In passing the historic Wentworth by the Sea Hotel and Marina, now on my left. There were only a few lighted boats at the marina. The gas dock was dark, long ago closed for the day. I watched my chart plotter and radar and went through Little Harbor to the open ocean. I soon approached the breakwater that separated the harbor from the ocean. I could see the red marker light on the left side, but it was blurred by fog and barely visible. Seeing its red glow dispersed by the water droplets of the fog, I knew the breakwater was in front of me, and I knew from my chart plotter my bow was centered on the breakwater. The fog had grown thick and gray outside the breakwater. I felt I was approaching a solid wall. This caused me to throttle back even more, though I knew from my instruments and experience there was nothing but water ahead. Nonetheless, I came to a dead stop in the water, and I glanced at the radar once more. Everything was where it belonged and nothing was moving. It was safe to continue. So why did I feel so uneasy? This is an excerpt from the first chapter of Cold Dark Water. Again, it's a murder mystery that takes place in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and the Isles of Shoals just offshore. Cold Dark Water can be found several bookstores. It's online at Target and Amazon and several other venues, and I hope you enjoyed the introduction to the book. It's a book my wife and I wrote. It's self-published. We are not professional authors, but it's something that we've always wanted to do. Enjoy.